saw a picture of you on the internet.
Oh, you saw
that? With the long hair, yeah.
Oh, my God!
Hey, welcome to the show. I'm Dave Darren. How are you, sir?
I'm well, Dave.
Good.
Thanks
And
for
you so
having me.
are?
My name is Chuck McDermott.
Very cool. So I was at your gig today. We're at the we're in Scottsdale. You did a gig here today. It was tremendous, by the way. I love the music.
Well, thank you.
The collaboration, the instrumentation was obviously extremely well done.
Well, thank you.
Yep. So now tell me a little bit about this event, which I think is going on for like 18 years.
Yeah. So the thing that has me involved in this is I worked for a number of years with an artist named John Steward.
Right. Okay.
Who was one of the granddaddies of Americana music.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
John started at about age 20 in the band the Kingston Trio.
Right.
Which at the time was the biggest act in show business. This was pre-Beatles. This was like 57,
and everyone knows them.
58.
I've known them.
Yeah.
Since I was a kid, I've heard them all the time, right?
Yeah, Tom Dooley and Charlie and the
Right,
MGA
right,
and all
right,
those
right.
things.
I've heard so much about the Kingston Trio that it's really a thrill to finally meet you. Tell me, which one of you is Tom Dooley?
Benny, Tom Dooley happens to be a song we recorded.
Oh my goodness, I'm so embarrassed. I don't know what to do.
Why don't you hang down your head and cry?
It's
a madhouse! But now there's a new way to spell action.
Take Broad Street North, right on Passyunk Avenue.
Oh, you're from Philadelphia? Kind of like the mummers and cheesesteaks and pretzels.
He's the best there is.
Interesting.
This is why you're my favorite DJ on this.
Dave Darren.
Yes, yes, yes!
Now, you wrote some songs with him, didn't you?
I didn't write them with him, but I did several albums with him.
Okay. Oh,
and
I thought you
toured
did
with
some
him.
writing. Did he collaborate with anyone at
Not
all?
really. Not really. He didn't need to.
Yeah, like I remember up on stage you said that he came, I think, to you with like 5 tracks on a cassette.
Yeah.
And they were all already written fully, and they
Yeah.
were tremendous tracks,
Yeah.
right? How about
And that was not uncommon. I mean, that could be, every couple of weeks. He would go through periods of being highly prolific.
Now, what is the connection? Because I was confused with this. The last song, Daydream Believer,
Yeah.
right? Now, I thought that was written by Neil Diamond for some reason.
No.
Or was that I'm a Believer? I get.
Maybe he wrote I'm a Believer. They're both Monkees, hits for the Monkees.
Right, that's right.
So, but Daydream Believer is a John Stewart song.
As she sings, 6 o'clock alarm would never ring, but it rings and I rise, wipe the sleep out of my eyes. The shave and razors old and it stays. You once struck me as a white knight on his steed, but now you know how funky I can be. And our good times start and end without dollar one to spend. But how much baby do we really need? Daydream believer and a homecoming queen. Let's let the folks sing it one time. Cheer up, sleepy Jean. Give us a great applause after it, too. Thanks, Greg.
Then I saw her face, king of a believer, not a trace of doubt in my mind, yeah. I'm in love. I'm a believer, I couldn't leave her if I tried. It's a song of faith, now I'm a believer.
The trio broke up in 1967, the original one, and then one of the original members kept the name and has continued to tour with others through the years. But
Still even today?
Yeah, even
Oh, is
well,
that
well,
right?
the remaining living member of the original group, Bob Shane, is alive, but he doesn't perform in it anymore.
Okay, so now there's others that have replaced and are continuing on the legacy, right?
Correct.
Okay.
But while all three of the originals were still alive, they started this fantasy camp. So much like a sports fantasy camp.
Yeah.
Trio fans can come and spend 4 or 5 days with members of the Kingston Trio. They organize these campers into trios and they perform for each other. And then every camper gets to perform with 2 other of the real trio members. So they're part of the trio. So that's what it's been. And then there's a subtext to it that are diehard Jon Stewart fans who call themselves Bloodliners after a song of John's, California Bloodlines. But so John passed away about 10 years ago, but the camp has gone on, ever since. And we've been playing at these for going on 10 years.
Yeah, my daughter's in a bass, he's away upon the gas. It's 250 going out. There's rhythm in his hands, tapping on the cans. Sing rock and roll to shout out. I'm driving on faded, singing to the soul. People out there, turn the music in the door. California girls are the greatest in the world.
and
So there's a story there too.
yeah, it's an interesting one because I had no idea that this connection was there.
Yeah, it goes back to the Kingston Trio. John was in the Kingston Trio. There was another trio in Greenwich Village in New York called the Modern Folk Quartet. And one of the members is someone named Henry Diltz, who went on to be one of the most famous rock photographers in rock music. He did the Crosby, Stills and Nash cover, the early Doors covers, things like that. His career endured as a photographer. One of the other guys in that trio or quartet rather, was a guy named Chip Douglas, who went on to be a record producer. And when
he wasn't in the My Three Sons, not that Chip Douglas,
no,
right? There was a Chip Douglas in that, right? I used to watch that TV show.
You're probably right. But this Chip Douglas went on to be a record producer, and when the Monkees TV show was in formation, they hired Chip to produce the Monkees music. And he came to John early in this and said, "Do you have anything for the Monkees? We're doing this TV show." And John said, "Well, I just wrote a song called Daydream Believer."
Right.
And they brought it in, and the Monkees loved it, the label loved it, the TV people loved it. And so they recorded it, and it went on to be one of the big songs of the day.
And it's interesting, whenever anyone hears that song or I hear it, no matter who sings it, I hear an English accent within the song.
Davy Jones.
I do. I really do. Everyone does, right?
Davy sat in with us and done that.
Oh, is that? He's passed away.
He did.
He did like
suddenly.
4 years ago.
Yeah.
So, right.
Yeah, and we worked with him maybe a year before that, and he was in the peak of health. But it can happen. But,
yeah, it sure does. Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
They did a couple of John songs when we did Tonight called "She Believes in Me." The Monkees recorded also.
Now, did John pass away rather suddenly? It was
he had
10
a stroke.
years ago, right?
He had a massive stroke.
Wow. Did he have any unreleased material that you know of? Or?
Yeah, there is some unreleased material.
Are you guys working on that at all, or do you have permission to work on it and bring it into the?
All of his catalog is really owned by his wife, Buffy, who's a dear friend of all of ours, and she's kind of managing the eventual release of some of that stuff.
Huh. Wow. Now, how did you guys all get together here? By the way, who were in the band? Mention yourself and the other guys.
So the bass player and the drummer and I, we had a band in LA formed in 1980, the Chuck McDermott Band.
Okay.
And so we've been playing on and off since then. I worked with John for about 4 years, and then I moved east, and John really subsumed the Chuck McDermott Band as his band. So David, Batty, the bass player, Dennis Kenmore, the drummer, worked with John over the years. David for like 25 years. And David had done a lot of work with one of the other guitarists, John Hope. And John ended up producing several.
Was he the gentleman on the left?
No, he was the gentleman on the far right.
Oh, okay, right. Okay.
And he produced several John Stewart records that John did later in his life. And then Bob Hawkins, the other guitarist, John Stewart met through some other mutual friends, and he started recording with John rather late in John's life and career.
Okay.
So he came in later.
And he's a phenomenal guitar player.
Phenomenal.
I'm sure he does a lot of jazz stuff as well.
Yeah, he can play
He had
pretty much
jazz
anything.
licks in his, because I studied jazz for a while.
Oh, did you?
So I can hear the jazz licks in his instrumentation.
Yeah, he's a really versatile, fluid,
Yeah.
eloquent guitar player.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Dave Crossland is a folk singer who got started out in New England, where I live these days. Lives out in Los Angeles now, but he really grew up on John's music. Knows hundreds of John Stewart songs, and he and John met. And John pulled Dave Crossland in for a while too, under his wing, and they did some little side projects together under the name Darwin's Army.
I said, excuse me, mister, but I lost my way. I'm trying to get back to another day. I've been driving on a razor's edge. My engine's big in the red. I'm looking for dreamland. I heard it's round here somewhere. Dreamland. I'm looking for a reason to care. Heard it's round here somewhere. He said, you Wind down James River Road, over the tracks they don't use no more. When you get to thinking you've gone too far, you go a little further and there you are. Dreamland, let the waters wash you clean. Dreamland, working with the forces unseen. Let the waters wash you clean.
That in many places, permafrost temperatures have risen so much that it is only 1 degree below freezing.
Wash you clean. Well, I did what he said, but I must have screwed up. So I stopped and I flagged down a pickup truck. A tired old man hunched over the wheel, said I'd like to help you, but I'm lost and I'm looking for dreamland. I heard it's round here somewhere. Dreamland, I'm looking for a reason to care. Heard it's round here somewhere. Round here somewhere. Round here somewhere. I said I'm looking, I think I'm looking. Yeah, I'm looking for a reason to care.
Dave's a really talented singer and songwriter and performer himself. So,
Okay.
And we all met. I told the story tonight, but John passed away about 10 years ago, and he was due to play Scottsdale 10
Right, you
days
said
later.
that, right. Wow.
And we all said, let's just go do that gig.
And you did it. I
We
heard you
did.
say that, right?
Yeah.
And that must have been an emotional gig, though, right?
It was. I say we laughed, we cried, but it was like an Irish wake. I mean,
Yeah.
we celebrated the man too.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, and that was the first Jon Stewart Band gig, and people asked us to keep doing it, and they invite us back to do these things, and so it keeps his music alive, which is what we want to do.
Yeah, excellent. Now, you do have a new CD out, right?
I do.
You yourself. Now, by the way, is it performed with the group of instrumentation that we met this evening?
No,
or-
it's not this group. I recorded it in Boston.
Okay.
So and these folks are all LA based.
Okay.
So I mean, we're doing a gig in Santa Monica this coming Sunday at McCabe's Guitar Shop, August 20th, and it will be doing my record with these players, and then we'll
Okay.
also do a set of Jon Stewart music. But yeah, this is my first record in 34 years.
Well, why the gap?
I've focused on other things for a number of years, mostly energy and environmental policy work.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I worked in Washington, D.C. for 12 years, and for the last many years, some other partners and I started a fund to invest in startup companies in the clean energy and sustainability areas.
Okay.
I've never stopped playing music, never stopped writing songs, but I stopped pursuing it as a full-time endeavor until now, because I'm phasing all that other stuff out.
All the blood behind the dam, all the feeling in my hands, all the light your eyes can stand, you'll find here in Belvedere. Tiny teardrops on my face, cut across my cheeks like lace, feeling arms you can't embrace. That's the fear in Belvedere. Oh, she really found a man in me, and she really made the most of me, and she really
standing here outside Belvedere. Stones, sounds that echo through my bones, memories looking for a home. I'll come here to Belvedere. Oh, she really found a man in me, and she really made the most of me, and she really made it hard for me. She left me standing here outside Belvedere.
Now, what do you think about today? For instance, I've interviewed some legends of rock recently, and I asked them, I said, where's your new material? And they've told me that they don't do new material now because it's a harder product to sell. And now, that seems to me to be telling the young folks that are mostly on my show, because I have a lot of young bands come on the show, it's almost telling them there's almost no hope. Don't do it. And I try to tell them there is hope, but we have to create some unity amongst all of you guys to make the thing grow back to where it was before.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that? Do you think that legends need to come back out and reignite and help to reignite the young folks so that their energy propels them? Obviously, they're fully energized.
Yeah.
But we need to get them encouragement because they're going to gigs. A lot of the young guys that go to gigs that I see, they go there, there's the pay-to-play stuff, if you know what that is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that damages them, that they don't have much of a profit when the night's over.
Yeah.
And they kind of eventually lose their enthusiasm.
Yeah.
So
well,
what do you think about the whole
I don't
thing?
think the problem is what the legends are doing, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I mean, there are several of them who remain very, very fertile creatively.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Paul Simon's new record I thought was a fabulous record.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Springsteen still does great stuff.
Neil Diamond was just out here in Arizona, right?
Yeah. Oh, and he's still, exceedingly popular. But what has happened is the revenue has gone out of recorded music.
Yeah.
Between YouTube and Spotify, streaming and all that stuff, that you just don't get paid, so that affects those guys too, the legends. So they make their money by touring if they still tour, because touring can still be lucrative. Now, when you go down to the younger artists and people trying to break through, I think there's a lot of immensely great talent out there.
I believe there is. Absolutely. It's been on my show constantly.
Yeah. So that the problem is not the lack of talent. There's plenty of talent. I think the problem becomes there's a finite number of venues that in which people who do original music can actually expose themselves to a broader audience. And on the booking world these days, it's all about what can you do for the club owner. It's no longer a club owner is really kind of like an A&R guy at a label, right? Who goes, he finds a great band, he wants to show them off, he wants to showcase them, he wants to help them build an audience. That's not the case anymore. It's much more, you got to guarantee that club owner that you're going to sell the place out.
Isn't that something?
And it's a catch-22.
Yeah.
Because if you can't get in front of an audience, how do you build your audience?
Yeah.
So the answer to that, they tell you, is social media.
Right.
So,
and it is tricky because I played in the 70s and the 80s. I made a livelihood out of it for like 8 or 9 years or 7 years, whatever it was. And the clubs that I played were in New Jersey, at the beach communities.
Okay.
Now, obviously, everyone back in the 70s and the 80s, they didn't have so many cable TV channels. they all wanted to go out and enjoy the nightlife.
Yeah, that's right.
So now it's like enjoying the nightlife is something where people decide their nightlife is to bring in YouTube and Netflix into their living rooms and create a venue within their own environment.
Yeah.
Which is the way things are now.
Yes.
But when they come out and they see live music, like we did tonight, seeing your band perform, the energy is still there.
Yeah.
So we just have to liven people up to want to go out again.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, there's a generational aspect to it. Although my kids all attend a lot of live music, and their friends do. But there are other things that compete for the attention of the audience. You know, there's what you can do at home, as you mentioned. There's Netflix, and there's all of that, right? And there's, you know, the video gaming industry is much bigger than the music industry.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, monetarily.
That's too bad.
Yeah, you know, and
I guess that makes sense.
In fact, I know a number of musicians, one of my sons included, who are focusing on writing music soundtracks for video games, because there's actually revenue in that.
Yeah.
You get well paid to do that if you land in there. So, you know, I don't know what the solution is, but I think there's a little bit of a crisis in that it's very, very hard to make a living wage.
So we're going to do a tune here called Red Betty. This is a fairly new song of mine also. And it started out as, you know, a little one, hey, baby, get your dress on and your dancing shoes and let's go have a night on the town. You know? And I played it for a friend. He said, you know, that's fine, man, but, you know, why don't you have, you know, die? You know, then we played it for somebody else and said, that's fine, but, you know, why don't you have him go to prison or something? Now, this is reflective of the kind of people I hang out with. It's really, I think, what we're saying here. So people just say the weirdest things, but, you know, we're trying to listen, so. Oh, Betty, put your red dress on, tie it on. Oh, Betty, put your red dress on, rock your belly home. Oh, Betty, put your high heels on, or raise them on. Oh, Betty, put your high heels on, rock your belly home. Oh, Betty, hear the woman say, calling me up to judgment day. Oh, Betty, heard the woman say, they're calling Daddy home. Oh, Betty, here's what I crave, to know you'll dance upon my grave. Oh, Betty, that's what I crave, now rock this Daddy home. Oh, Betty, let's paint the town when the sun goes down. Oh, Betty, let's paint the town, rock your daddy home. Oh, Betty, let's dance tonight in about moonlight. Oh, Betty, let's dance tonight, now rock your daddy home. Betty, please hold me tight on my last night. Oh, Betty, please hold me tight, rock this daddy home. Everybody, let's dance tonight, it feels so right. Everybody, let's dance tonight,
I too, I played in the 70s and 80s for
Right.
like 14 years. I was on the road as a working class journeyman musician, and but we supported ourselves. We were a small business. We supported 6 or 7 people, and we could do it off the gig money we made. And then we started making some records, but it's a lot harder for musicians these days. But they're out there. I mean, if you go to Americana Fest or Folk Alliance International, or in the world I'm in, that kind of Americana world, there are 1,000 aspiring artists, and a lot of them are talented. But after a certain point in time, if it doesn't get traction and if you can't support yourself, you'll find something else to do.
What do you think about this? I'm curious about this. Everyone, when they're a younger kid, their parents tell them, when they're into music and they're very good at it, and some parents realize that their music talents are very good, but they tell them to have that backup career, go to college and do that. Now you're taking an individual who's got an ability to focus on one great talent, and now you're telling the child at a young age to have the backup. But when you have the backup, it's almost a safety net that you'll never protract the successes of your music career when you have that safety net. At least I feel that way. It's like you're competing to do two things
I think it depends
instead of one.
I think it depends on the individual. I mean, I've seen it both ways. I mean, out of the 6 musicians on the stage here tonight, only 2 don't have college degrees. The other 4 do, but they, everybody's making it work. So I think, if someone's true calling in life is to be a musician, a liberal arts education isn't going to do you that much good. I mean, some music education might do you some good, learn your theory and, those types of things. I think even outside of music these days, certain vocational training is probably more valuable to actually getting through in the world than having a French degree.
Right, exactly.
So I think it just depends, but you can lose some precious years if you're just finishing college to get the diploma and you're never going to use it. And it's expensive.
Yeah, sure.
So
now, I'm curious about this, your album that you have now.
Yeah.
Is it written solely by you? Did you collaborate with anyone, or how'd you come up with the material?
Yeah, so there's 14 songs. 11 of them I wrote myself, and then there are 3 covers. So I did
one's a Steward cover,
one's a John Stewart
right?
song, Irresistible Targets. I did a rather twisted, unrecognizable version of Johnny Cash's I Walk the Line.
Oh, wow.
And I
That's
also,
a good tune, too,
it's a
right?
great
You
song,
like that one.
yeah. And took a song that was hit by the Animals, Please Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood.
Oh, okay, sure. Okay.
Kind of slowed that one down, too, and tried to make something a little different out of it. So, other than that, I wrote them all.
Okay. Well, how do you write? Do you write from your life story, or do you write from imagination? Or is it a mix of both?
It's both.
Okay.
It's kind of all of the above, and sometimes folks will ask, do you start with the words, or do you start with the melody, or and I think, like most songwriters, you take whatever you get. I mean, sometimes there's a turn of phrase, or there's an opening line that gets you going, and other times you're playing with your guitar and a chord progression develops, or a melodic thing develops, and you run with that. And I try to keep track of both. If I hear a good phrase or a good combination of words or a provocative thought, I keep it in my phone. And similarly, if I come up with a melody or a chord progression or something, again, now it goes in my phone.
Right. Sure.
So then when I've got time and space and to try to really spend some time with musical ideas, I have threads I can pull out to begin working with.
Okay. What songs do you think are the best written by you? Are they ones that take time and you go back to them and you have to massage them? Or is it the ones that come out real quickly seem to be the ones that are better for music that you think is a better product?
The ones that come out really quickly are highly gratifying because it is such a spontaneous and almost crazy thing that a song evolves almost fully formed. So I have affection for those when they happen. I also feel really satisfied with some songs I worked on over a really long period of time. I try to spend more time on them these days than perhaps I did at other times in my life. Just to stay with a song sometimes, and it can be just a couple words sometimes that put it to the next level.
Just one more time. For Tom Canning here on keyboards, just one of the best. Of course, Dave Batty on the bass. He rises us up. Bob Hawkins guitar. Dennis Kenmore. Man who has it all. Okay, we've got one, played the Death Row song. This is just about general moral depravity. It's called People Are Weak.
any emotional songs that you've written which are hard to sing now because I know some people, they write songs about relationships, and that relationship is either ended due to a death, or just a separation that took place. If you have any songs like that, are they hard to sing? I would imagine they might be.
Yeah, I have songs that touch on loss of loved ones. Although I'll say the ones that choke me up the most, especially when they're new, have been more ones like songs I've written about my kids. You know, and then moving on, let's say, or something like that, or heartfelt, even positive love song can sometimes. I'm Irish. I'm really sentimental. You know, so that catches up with me sometimes in these things.
Now, are your children musicians?
All three of my children are musical. My middle child, I have 2 boys and a girl. My middle son, Patrick, who's 30, he's in the music business. He's an artist himself, and he manages 2 indie record labels. He manages a band called Waves, which perhaps you've heard of. They're kind of a San Diego surf punk band on Warner Brothers Records, and he does music for video game soundtracks. And he's got. That's how you make a living these days in music. Is you have about 18 things going at once.
Right.
But my daughter has a really beautiful voice, and my oldest son is a very gifted guitar player. But those 2 have not sought it as a career.
Okay. How do people engage with you, get in touch with you, purchase the album?
Yeah.
How do they do all that?
Okay, great. Thank you for asking.
Sure.
The first stop should be my web page, which is my name. It's ChuckMcDermott.com.
Okay. 2 T's at the end.
2 T, McDermott.
Okay.
And on that, you can order a physical copy of my CD. There's information about me. There's all the information on the gigs I'm doing. The press and things like that have been generated, but there's other music on there of mine, other videos and things like that on there. So that's a good place to start. You can stream me on Spotify or Amazon. You can download me on iTunes. So all of those things are out there too. But you can get all that info on the website.
Okay, and I think one of your new tracks is a video now, isn't it? Don't you have one out there that's a video?
Yeah, we have several now.
you have several,
building up to a total of 4. We call it official videos.
Okay.
And those are available on the website. You can find them on YouTube as well.
Okay. What are a couple of them we can play?
I'd say look for a song called 1,000 Cuts.
Okay. Did it take you 1,000 cuts to cut that song?
No, it didn't.
It was
but
a little quicker, hopefully.
Some days you feel like you're dying from 1,000 cuts.
Right.
That's the drill on that. Another song that I have deep feelings about is called "Hold Back the Water."
Oh wow!
And it's a song about a family who's literally experiencing a rising river coming at the house. And as I mentioned, I've worked around energy and environmental issues for the last 30 years, and climate change is one of the things that scares me. I mean, seriously scares me, and it's a topic that I wanted to cover in my songwriting, but hopefully without being preachy. So tried to make it a story that makes the point that Mother Nature's a little irritated with us these days.
There's a couple perspectives of that particular thing, climate change. So I'm curious about it. Do you feel like we are a huge participant in the change of climate, or is it just a cycle?
I do. I mean,
cycle thing?
To me, it's look at 98% of the world's climate scientists agree that there's a significant human impact causing the planet to warm. Now, pick any other activity, brain surgery, auto mechanics, whatever, where 98% of the experts agree, that's consensus, man. I mean, to say that the 2% don't agree means it's really in question. This is nonsensical. And the consequences of getting this wrong are almost unthinkable. I mean, it's going to affect billions and billions of people if sea levels rise and storms get more severe and things like that. So I'm pretty hard about it. I don't cut any slack for the climate deniers myself.
Yeah. And it is, I survived and lived during the Hurricane Sandy thing in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And you could see the devastation
Yeah.
there. I mean, I was in Manasquan Beach, New Jersey. And there's a place there where there's the bay, which is an inlet, and the ocean. And the section in the middle, they collided to each other. The bay met the ocean.
Yeah, right.
And devastated those groups of people there.
Yeah, I have relatives in that sort of area too, and
Yeah.
it was very hard. I mean, you couldn't get money out. The ATMs weren't working. I mean, it was serious stuff.
So, John, it was very excellent to meet you. Enjoyed your music thoroughly.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Thanks so much for inviting me over.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay.
My pleasure.
Gotta hold back the water. Oh Lord, gotta hold back the water. Oh Lord, gotta hold back the water. Oh Lord, gotta hold back the water. I can see the Red Creek rise, where it swells before my eyes. I can see the Red Creek rise. There's no knowing yesterday. Thunder clouds are turning black, like a sack of coal on the devil's back. Thunder clouds are turning black. Hands from heaven reaching down. Oh Lord, gotta hold back the water. Oh Lord, gotta hold back the water. Oh Lord, gotta hold back the water. Hold back the water.
Hey man, no, listen, I'm glad you called. How's it going? It's terrifying, to tell you the truth. I mean, we have had nothing but horizontal torrential rain for 2 days, and there's no place for this water to go. I mean, the street is a river, and with the wind, I mean, trees are down, branches are down. I've lost parts of the roof. And, you know, we've got that dam 2 miles upriver, and if that thing goes, you know, we're swimming out of here if we get out of here at all. Hold on a minute. Hey, Billy went out on the front porch. Billy, get back here! Water high above the riverbed leaves the world to the copperhead. Water high above the riverbed. What we knew is others now. Water rides your mama's bones 6 feet south of her tombstone. Water rides